pod bay doors.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of The Cinematic Traveler. I am your intrepid movie exploring host, Chris, and on this very special midweek episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different and review a film that was actually recommended by the filmmaker herself. And this movie is entitled Little Miss Sociopath, and it is written and directed by Miv Evans. And with a movie entitled Little Miss Sociopath, reminding me so much of many of the young ladies that I have dated, how could I resist reviewing this film? I am super excited to talk about it with you. Before I do, though, I do have to ask a favor of you. Whatever you are watching or listening to this show on, somewhere on that screen is a follow or subscribe button. If you could please tap that button, I would greatly appreciate it, as it does help me and the show, but it also helps you. You won't miss any of my future episodes, and you can go back and listen to all of my amazing previous reviews, hear my sexy voice. On some of them, you get to see my sexy face. Oh, stop laughing. I haven't even gotten to the jokes on this episode yet. Jeez. But anyway, I would appreciate the help. Also, if you could share the show with your friends, family, loved ones, annoying coworkers, Little Miss Sociopaths, I don't care. Anybody. If you could just share it with anybody so I could get some more viewers or listeners, I would appreciate it. Also, if you could share it on your social media, that'd be great as well. And you can find me on social media. The best one to find me on is Instagram at Cinematic Traveler Pod. I also have an email address, thecinimatictravelerpod@gmail.com, so you can get in touch with me through that. I am on the other services, but all I do is promote the show on that. So yeah, Instagram's my favorite one. It's just very easy. I like easy things in my life, including Little Miss Sociopaths. Anyway, so I got through that YouTuber, podcaster, mumbo jumbo, quick, fast, and in a hurry, so we could dive into this episode. I'm probably going to be a little quick. I don't want to take up too much of your time as we're heading into the weekend. I hope you're doing well out there, my beloved listener. And as I mentioned, this is something a bit different. You know what, we'll get into all that when I start my review. Let's go ahead and kick off all the fun stuff by over-explaining a few things. I am going to be giving you a spoiler-free review as well as a spoiler-free plot synopsis. Now, in that plot synopsis on this episode, I have hidden just one movie quote from another movie that maybe shares some DNA or runs a little parallel with this movie. If you can identify that movie quote, get in touch with me through the means that I have told you earlier in this show. You'll get a point for it if you get it right. At the end of the month, I add up all the points, and whoever wins gets to pick a movie for me to review next month. How exciting is that? A little audience participation time. We all love that. I know it seems maybe a little uncool, but isn't that the best time of the week to be uncool with Chris? I'm uncool with Chris 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So come on, join the fun. Okay, I hear you. And let's get on with it already. Let's talk about Little Miss Sociopath.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on the bun.
We open the movie meeting Clementine, played by Jenny Tran, a young woman that leads a dull, boring life, and she is headed to her dull, boring job at a local pharmacy. Now, things are about to change for Clem as she meets the new employee Adam, played by Brendan Michael Coughlin, and the pair hit it off right away. Now, just as things start looking up for Clem, her dad dies suddenly, and she is forced to take care of her elderly stepmother. Now, Clem's stepmother is a holy terror, and it's not long before Clem, with the help of Adam, decides to concoct a plan to help her stepmother on her way to the afterlife. Since the pair get away with the deed, they concoct a plan to use Clem's house as an assisted living facility and convince the elders in their care to leave Clem some money in their will before she helps them have a face-to-face conversation with the Grim Reaper. Now, will Clem have a moral crisis by bonding with the old-timers and stopping the plan before it starts? Or will she give in to her new sociopathic ways, leading to Adam saying something like, "There she is, Henrietta Lee Lucas, Joan Wayne Gacy, a new face in the deck of serial killer trading cards." Now, I will not spoil the movie by answering those questions, but I will give you the best review for Little Miss Sociopath in all of the podcaster YouTube universe. in all of the universe. Now, for a moment of transparency in the life of a podcaster, a movie review podcaster. It's exciting as it is behind my fort of blankets here. Over the years that I have been doing this, from time to time, you will get an independent filmmaker, a low budget filmmaker who will hit you up on the social media. Usually it's Instagram, let you know about their movie and want you to review it. I was not specifically asked to review this movie by Miv Evans, but she did kind of hint around the subject. So I figured, you know what? After seeing so many requests, let's go ahead and give it a shot and see what happens. So, knowing that this is a low budget independent film, I wasn't sure in my review if it should be gentle with Little Miss Sociopath or perhaps Little Miss Sociopath would appreciate it if I don't hold back and I dive deep into this review. I think maybe I will try to be generous in my review and meet halfway between kindness and savageness. I really just am amusing myself at the moment right now. Unfortunately, I amuse myself too many times. I need a little Miss Sociopath in my life. All right, let's get on with this already. Let's go ahead and dive into the positives of Little Miss Sociopath.
Sounds pleasant.
I am gonna start with the cast. I did like Jenny Tran as the titular lead character of this film, the Little Miss Sociopath herself. Clementine, I think she does a pretty good job conveying the frustration that Clem has with having to deal with her stepmother. After her stepmother has this stroke, it even gets worse, and she can't have like helpers come to the house because the stepmother's just this holy terror on everybody. So you could kind of see her getting to the break. I'll be honest with you, there were some points in the movie, especially because the lady that was playing the stepmother, I give her credit for her overacting because it got to be really annoying. So I was really rooting for Clem to go ahead and inject that morphine into her stepmother until she was no more. So I think that Jenny Tran does a good job with that. She has some good comedic moments, and she also conveys some vulnerability, some likability. You were cheering for her. She's adorable. I will give her that as well. I think she has good chemistry with Brendan Michael Coughlin, who plays Adam. He actually injects a lot of life into this movie. I think he's got a good sense of comedy. I think, again, both of them work well off of each other, but he's playing this guy who has this big crush on her, but he's trying to, I guess, play himself up. So he tells a lot of big, tall tales about his life. Like he's got a Porsche, and one of the funnier lines in the movie that I'll bring up in a minute about his penthouse. But, you know, he's always sort of over embellishing himself to try to impress her. So it's kind of a recurring bit throughout the movie. He also goes from being her partner in crime to being a bit of her moral compass. And, you know, you can see how important she is to him and how important he is to her. And like I said, I think they have a good chemistry, a good mixture together that keeps you invested, at least in their journey throughout this movie. The other actor that I liked in this film, and I hope this is the right one, Pamela Shaw as Erica, the older lady that ends up staying in the assisted living part of the house. She's sort of this over the top, God, I don't know. I guess she's an alcoholic. She likes to have a good time. She likes to entice the older men that are staying in the assisted living, and she's kind of the life of the party. And you can tell she's really having a good time. Again, she's playing it over the top, but I think that's what that character needs. And it kind of injects some life into the film. So I think those are probably the main performances I enjoyed. Again, I understand that this is a low budget film, so I'm not creating too harsh on some of the acting in the movie. I understand that some of these people were probably just, hey, could you come be in my movie and say a couple of lines? Some of them, I think there's a lawyer lady. I think she kept almost laughing every time she said her line. So I get it. So I'm just going to highlight the positive performances in the film. And while the subject matter of the movie might seem a bit dark, I think that's kind of what this movie is going for, sort of dark comedy. There are some moments that I did actually laugh out loud. I will say I think I laughed more at this movie than I did at Hell of a Summer. which says a lot for the filmmaking and the differences in filmmaking between the two. But yeah, there were some pretty good comedic moments. I talked about Adam and his big story. There's this one joke, it was pretty good. I had to laugh where he talks about he lives in a penthouse. He's trying to impress, obviously, he's trying to impress Clem. He's like, my other place is a penthouse, but my ex lives upstairs, so I got to move. So the joke is obviously that there is no upstairs in the penthouse. I thought that was pretty funny. There's some good bits with Clem as well. I think there's one moment where her stepmother, after she has the stroke, she's in a hospital, and Clem asks the doctor, what's she going to be like when I get her home? And the doctor's like, well, she's not going to be as pleasant as she was before. And Clem has this narration throughout the movie, and she just suddenly goes, "Oh no," or "Oh shit," or something like that. I had a good laugh about that. But yeah, there were some moments. Like I said, the older lady, I think that was Erica, was her name. I thought she brought again a good comedic burst into the film when it really needed it. So yeah, some of the comedy does pay off in the movie. I think especially early on in the film, I think there's some better bits there, but we'll get into some of that later. My final positive for the movie, it's about an hour and a half long, so you can't beat that, especially when you are dealing with any kind of comedy and horror. If you could get an hour and a half, that's like the perfect timing for the movie. So, having wrapped up the positive, let's go ahead and talk about the negatives of Little Miss Sociopath.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
And I have mentioned it already, but there is narration in the film. I will say I'm not a huge fan of narration in movies. It can be done well. But most of the times it's a bit annoying because I'm watching a movie. So just show me everything, especially with this narration. There's a lot of stuff that gets said where I'm like, okay, I see what's happening on the screen. Just show it to me. You don't have to explain what I am watching. Also, I think there's some points with the narration where, again, it's almost too much. There's times where it feels like it's overlapping over dialogue and stuff. So I was kind of missing some stuff here and there. Or maybe some of the narration went on too long to try to punctuate a joke or something, which kind of leads into my next negative. And I hate to do this. I really hate to do this because, again, I know this is a low budget film, but I, I cannot compromise myself. I cannot compromise my integrity. I will say, and I'm not going to make a huge issue about there, but there were some things in the movie where I was like, oh, we need to work on that. Some of the sound in this movie gets a bit rough. There are some lines in dialogue that I could not hear. There were some choices with how actors were standing when they're having conversations where you couldn't really hear one or the other of them, and you couldn't really get the reaction shots. And you really needed to kind of have a A shot and a B shot so I could understand what was going on. There's a point in the movie where one of the our three main characters are in a work van that Adam drives around, and they're all having a conversation, but the camera is locked in on the lady in the back of the van, so you can hear her and see her reaction to everything fine. But then you hear some mumbling off screen, and that's the lines from the other characters. Maybe we could have had some shots of those characters and edited that in a little better, or I don't know what the microphone situation was. Again, I don't want to get too harsh with it, but there were some times where I was like, what the hell is everybody saying? I had it cranked up on my sound bar and I still couldn't hear some of the dialogue. So, yeah, that needed a little work. And again, there were some editing issues. I don't want to pick too hard on that, but there were some scenes where I was like, okay, is this scene over? Okay, why are we dragging? Okay, come on, let's go ahead and cut to the next scene. So, yeah, there are some technical issues. Again, this is her first film, Miv's first films. I am going to put it in a negative because if you do decide to watch this movie, be prepared for that stuff. But hey, that's all right. The next movie she's going to be even better at. So there you go. That's how we all start. I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. No, that's not true. I would make an amazing movie. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Yeah, that's my ego talking. So let's go ahead and move into really the heart of the negatives of this film. As much as I was enjoying the beginning of the movie, the setup of everything, once the stepmother dies, God, this movie just kind of, pun intended, it dies itself. About the middle of this movie, it really starts to drag. You get confused by a few things that are going on. There's sort of this one scene where the elderly people are at the assisted living house, whatever you want to call it. They're having this party with, there was somebody there. I didn't even know who it was, but apparently it was the mailman. and it comes up later, but when I'm watching to see it, I was like, what the hell is this? Because it doesn't really explain anything that's going on. There's this other stuff that goes on with, I guess, this lady in a call center, which she is sort of the one that sets up the elderly getting into this house. I guess she's the agency that works to get them placed in these facilities, which would have been a great way to give us some exposition on the characters. Like, oh, whoever this old guy is, he has this condition and that condition, all that stuff. And it might have been in there. I'll admit I was kind of zoning out at certain points, but I think there's also this character, the lady she talked to at a call center or whatever. She's played for laughs, but I don't think I really got a lot of the jokes in it. There's something with her boss, and it happens where you don't really see her boss until the end of the movie. I don't know. It was kind of like, all right, we don't really need this. It adds filler to the movie that I was like, okay, this is kind of dumb. Plus the jokes weren't very good. And that moves into, I guess, my other negative for the actual movie was, I guess, the tone of the film. I'm assuming this, rightfully so, it should be a dark comedy about, when she's having to deal with her elderly stepmother's driving her crazy, and she makes the decision to euthanize her. And it's played up for laughs. So let's get that out of the way early. This movie is not to be taken seriously from the start of the movie. They make that clear. So I appreciate that. But then you never really get Little Miss Sociopath. They have this plan, like I said, to kind of bilk money out of these elderly people before they die and then kind of help them on their way. They give them morphine shots. Which another thing I didn't understand was why Adam was so willing to help Clem. I think maybe if we'd have trimmed out some things and maybe earlier in the movie we could have had more with them, or maybe instead of him being a new employee, maybe they worked together for years and he's just had this crush on her and this is his chance to prove his love or something like that. So I could have bought in it because he just decides to help her kill people. I mean, I'm like, whoa, that's a big statement. Now, I will admit, if she climbed on my lap like she does climb on his lap, I probably would have killed somebody as well. But don't follow my moral compass. But anyway, yeah, I kept waiting for her to kind of maybe steer into Little Miss Sociopath to be, she wants to kill people. Like there's this nosy neighbor. At a point, I thought, okay, she's gonna kill this lady off, and she's just gonna, because as she kills the stepmother, Clem becomes sort of more extroverted, I guess is the best way to do it. She's sort of free of all of this responsibility. She's got some money. She feels like she's in charge of her life again. So I kind of thought that's how the movie was going to go, that she was going to kill these people, and that was what was going to make her change, and that was going to be her process to become this independent woman, and that's what's going to lean into Miss Sociopath. But she never really does that. She kind of bonds with the elderly people, and that's why they changed the plan, which, okay, if that's the way we were going to steer with it, then again, I needed some stuff to get trimmed out and see more with her and the elderly people that are living there. Because outside of Erica, you don't really see Clem with a lot. There's a couple of moments where I thought, oh, it'd be nice if you fleshed that out so I could see her maybe transforming. I've been shown that she did fall into this trap of being Little Miss Sociopath. And then, through this bonding, this love for these elderly people, as she would change her ways. Or I really thought it would have been funny if maybe the elderly people caught on to the plan, and then that's sort of the battle of wits between these these old timers who want to live against this young couple who are trying to kill her. That would have been pretty funny too. But at any rate, it gets a bit muddled in the middle, and I just kind of lost interest. I mentioned some of the side stuff with like the call center lady and the neighbor that really doesn't go anywhere. It's kind of, again, it feels like it's filler. It feels like, okay, we got to get to 90 minutes, so let's add. There's this one point where the nosy neighbor comes over and she's peeking through the window, and she sees like the old people are drinking and dancing around, and she can hear the music. So she's in the driveway dancing outside the window, and it goes on for a very long time. And I was like, come on, this is pointless. This is stupid. As I mentioned, I thought Clem was going to kill her off. That's kind of where I thought the movie was going to go, but she never does. So at any rate, I think the movie just loses steam, and then it really never picks it back up for me. And I wish it would have pushed a little harder maybe and steered into the dark comedy more, and maybe just made Clem not a redeemable character. Maybe our hero could have just been a bad person, and we just see her transformation into this Little Miss Sociopath. So my final verdict for Little Miss Sociopath, and I don't want you to think I'm going to shill for this movie just because the writer and director got in touch with me. I hate to do it, Miv. I really do hate to do it. I think you're starting your process. I think the next one's going to get better and better. I can't wait to see where your career goes. But this one, it just loses steam too quickly. It's got too much extra shit on it to where it just needed to be trimmed out and we could focus more on a direction for this film. I wish it would have steered harder into the dark comedy, or if it wanted to give us the happy, sappy ending that it does, maybe steer more into that so I could see more of Clem with these people and their bonding. So overall, I would say for just the average film goer to go ahead and pass on this movie. Although I do see the seeds of some good filmmaking and some good writing in Miv Evans' first feature film directorial debut. So good luck, Miv. I'm sorry you didn't get the cinematic traveler bump that would have pushed this film into James Cameron type numbers at the box office, but hopefully the next one I can give a ringing endorsement to, and all of your dreams of fame and fortune will be fulfilled. So that wraps up this special little episode for the middle end of the week for you. Hopefully, if you're still with me, and Miv, if you are, I'm sure you're chewing through glass, but I'm safe here in my fort of blankets. You can't get me while I'm behind my fort of blankets. Anyway, if you're still with me, then I must have done something right. And if I did, if you could please, again, subscribe to the show, follow the show, get in touch with me, play the contest, then you could pick a movie for me to review next month. Wouldn't that be exciting for you? That would make your month to be in charge of the cinematic traveler. Oh, dare to dream, dare to dream. Now, I will have another episode out this weekend, probably Sunday night, Monday, somewhere in that ballpark. I'll be reviewing, there's like 3 movies coming out this weekend. I hate when that happens. I hate when there's 3 movies that I want to see come out on the same weekend. So I'll have to pick one and run with it. So you'll definitely want to come back and check that out. Now, before I go, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to my show or watch it. I tell everyone I know I've got the smartest and sexiest audience in all the podcaster YouTuber universe, and you never fail to live up to those high standards. And as you are traveling around on this blue and green ball bouncing through the cosmos, I need you to do one thing for me. Go out and do that voodoo that you do so well.
All right, show's over. I'm tired.